All right. We are back. We are back. Welcome to another live feed reads. It is Friday and it is May 2nd. Wow. The year has just come and gone. There's so much to get into. But the first thing we get into today is Paul's not here. So I'm left manning the fort alone. My name is Jason Crawford, and I'm the Egg McMahon to Paul's Johnny Carson, and Paul's missing. That's what he always says, though. So we'll go with that. We have a little treat. It comes to us from one of the people that Paul works with for marketing, and he was playing around with an AI tool, and it gave a really interesting, it's like a summary or almost like a type of promotional interview. And yes, the AI tool interviewed itself and gave its own promotional interview for the book. It's pretty wild. It's something that you kind of just have to see to believe or understand. So we're gonna go it today. That's what we're gonna do. It's gonna go live, and I hope you enjoy it. The book is great. It's great. It's written by my wife and Paul Reed. So Crystal Crawford and Paul Reed, and they co-wrote it. And the way that they did it was Paul would interview with Crystal for an hour or so, and she would record the whole thing. Then she would go back and transcribe out everything that Paul had said from the stories, and she wrote it down and put it into the book with Paul's tone of voice, and really kind of took a laborious effort to make sure that the way Paul talks and the way that he tells these stories truly comes through the book. And it's wild. It's fantastic. And it's something that you just kind of have to read to fully understand. But what's really cool is how far technology has come. So this AI tool was able to take Paul's book and basically give its own opinion in an interview style. And I think you'll enjoy it. So I'm just going to go ahead and play it, and we'll go from there. And you guys check it out.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, well, we're taking a bit of a different approach.
Yeah. What's up?
We're actually diving into a book, The Other Side of the Law, written by a local attorney, Paul Reed.
Oh, interesting. Paul Reed from Reed and Reed.
That's the one. Think of this as getting an inside look at him and his firm. We're exploring his background, how he sees client relationships, and, what that firm motto really means, like having a lawyer in the family.
Okay, I like that. So the mission here is to figure out what makes them tick, especially like how they serve the Brandon community and deal with insurance companies.
Exactly. And the source is his own book, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and right off the bat, he says something that really sets the tone. He mentions wanting the book to feel conversational.
Oh, right. The quote about...
Yeah, like I'm telling you the story, not like a paper I would turn into the Second District Court of Appeals. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? It's not your typical stuffy legal writing.
Definitely not. And you feel that straight away when he talks about growing up in Brandon. It sounds simpler.
Simpler, yeah. He mentions like having only a few TV channels, and you couldn't just flip through them.
No remote.
No, someone had to physically go outside and mess with this huge 30-foot antenna to get reception. You can just picture it, right?
Yeah.
Arguing over which fuzzy channel to try and tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. What does that kind of upbringing tell you?
Well, it really grounds him in a specific place and time, A Brandon that was very different. And the stories he shares, they're so relatable, like about his dog, Zeke.
The one who went on adventures.
Exactly. Zeke would just disappear for days and then wander back totally wiped out. And sometimes he'd bring back a surprise litter of puppies.
Oh, wow. That does paint a picture of a different era, maybe a bit more rough and tumble.
Yeah, and his baseball games too. Imagine playing where center field just has a tree in it.
And a telephone pole is basically third base.
Right. Those weren't seen as problems. They were just like part of the field. You had to adapt.
Right.
And a barn roof in the outfield. Hit it. It's a homer.
Yeah.
Unless someone catches it coming down.
That's amazing. How do you think playing like that shapes you?
Well, you definitely learn to be resourceful, right? And adaptable. You work with what you've got.
Makes sense. And then there's the whole kindergarten dropout thing he mentions.
Oh, yeah. That's quite a story. Not because he couldn't handle it, but because he just decided.
He had better things to do.
Pretty much.
Okay.
These kids are stupid. I don't have time for this. It's bold for a kindergartner.
Okay, but here's the really interesting part, I think. He directly links that stubbornness, that early decisiveness.
To his later determination.
Yes. He says, once I set my mind to do something, nothing can stop me. It's like that core drive was just there from the start. You see that pop up again later, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. That kind of self-belief, that focus, it seems like a constant thread. And even those fun childhood stories, you see important family stuff.
Like with his grandparents?
Yeah, the Reed grandparents. There's a bit of distance after his parents split up, but then they really step back in. Grandpa Reed teaching him practical things.
Car stuff, painting.
Right, those hands-on skills that stick with you. Real life lessons.
Those are the kinds of experiences that really form who you become. He also mentions his neighborhood buddies, the Hellions phase.
Sounds like they kept things interesting. Adventures down at the pond, getting into trouble at Horseman Middle School. A tight group, it seems.
What do you think those early friendships give you?
A strong sense of loyalty, maybe?
Mm.
Community. Which seems like a big theme for him later on. That pond sounds like it was central. BB gun wars, defending turf, classic kid stuff, but it builds bonds.
Moving into his early influences, Stimmer seems like a really key figure.
Definitely. His mom's partner, a coach with the Red Sox. Paul clearly felt a strong connection there.
And Stinger helped him financially with law school, didn't he?
He did. That kind of support, that belief from someone, it's huge.
Yeah.
There's that funny story about the rickshaw at Stinger's reunion.
Right. It shows a real warmth, a fun dynamic between them.
And Paul saying Stinger was the closest thing he had to a real dad.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Tells you a lot about their bond.
He's also pretty open about some of the struggles, you know. Early marriage, living in Daft Pam mobile home park for a while.
Yeah, it makes him more human, doesn't it? Shows his path wasn't just a straight line upwards.
Totally. And his journey to law school wasn't direct either. Baseball scholarship first at Florida College.
Where he met Bob Wellen and Jim Roberts. Names that pop up again later.
Right. Then a phys ed degree at USF. Law school only came after his first marriage ended. Seems like a big turning point.
A major life reassessment, yeah. Deciding on a completely new path. And even then, it wasn't all easy. He tells that story about losing a computer paper in law school.
Oh, yeah. The floppy disk disaster.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
small thing, maybe, but it shows the stress, the challenges, and crucially, his willingness to ask for help.
Which is important. And he also talks about the long drives, right? Back home to see his kids while he was in law school miles away.
Yeah, hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
That really highlights his commitment to family, juggling all that. That dedication seems fundamental to him.
It really does. Okay, so let's shift to how he developed that trial lawyer mindset. This is key.
Yeah, he realized something pretty early on in his career.
About insurance companies.
Exactly. That they respect lawyers who aren't afraid to actually go to trial. Lawyers who will fight even on cases that maybe aren't slam dunks.
So it's not just about having a strong case on paper.
It's about the threat, the credibility, showing you're prepared to take it all the way. He calls it zealous representation, basically fighting tooth and nail for your client.
And he gives an example, right? That parking lot accident.
Yeah, where his client couldn't see the stop sign because a truck was blocking it. Liability wasn't clear-cut at all.
But he was ready to argue it.
Absolutely. Because the situation wasn't simple. He was looking at the nuances, fighting for what was fair, not just accepting the easy answer.
That shows a certain willingness to dig in. He also mentioned his very first trial.
Cross-examining the defense medical expert.
About the AMA guidelines specifically. That sounds pretty intense for a first trial.
It does. Suggests he was doing his homework right from the start. Not intimidated by the so-called experts. You need that kind of preparation and, frankly, nerve in court.
Which leads us nicely into his connection with Brandon and how he handles client relationships. Starting Reed and Reed, there wasn't an accident.
No, it was very intentional. A choice to serve his hometown. And they literally started in Bob's office, the same Bob Wellen from his college days.
That local tie seems really, really central to who they are.
It does. And he gives a lot of credit to their first employee, Michelle, how her skills were crucial for their early growth. He values his team.
And now his son Ryan and daughter-in-law Jackie are lawyers there too. It really is a family firm now.
Kind of brings that motto to life, doesn't it? Like having a lawyer in the family.
Hmm.
And they practice what they preach, it seems, like hosting those 4th of July parade parties at the office.
Yeah, that's a great touch. It's about being part of the community, not just working in it.
Exactly. Being visible, engaged, part of the local scene.
He also talks about taking on hairballs, his term for
Pro bono cases, basically. Helping out friends, people in the community, even when the cases are complicated or, well, messy.
It's clearly not just about the money for him. What does that tell you?
It shows a real commitment, right? A sense of obligation to help, beyond just earning a fee. The number of these cases he seems to take on is pretty remarkable, like that fishing boat hairball.
Where his gut feeling was right.
Yeah, he was suspicious, dug into it, and proved his initial hunch correct, even though there was no payout involved for him. That's dedication.
And the perjury case involving his childhood friend, that seems like going way above and beyond.
Definitely. Talk about personal investment. Facing a complex legal and personal situation for someone you've known forever, that shows incredible loyalty.
It really does. And maybe the most intense story is the DUI manslaughter case with his best friend, Roy.
Yeah, that one's heavy. He wasn't just the lawyer. He was the friend providing support through an unimaginable time, visiting him in prison.
That's wow. And he even links that whole experience to why he always keeps his phone on him now, the lasting impact. You don't see that level of personal connection often in law, do you?
Not usually, no. It shows a depth of empathy, a commitment that really goes beyond the typical professional relationship. He was truly there for his friend.
And then there's that story about the U.S. Marshals showing up at his Tampa office.
Right. His first reaction was worrying about a colleague, Keith.
And then he realizes they're actually watching him.
Yeah. He connects it to being a fierce advocate, someone who maybe ruffles feathers because he fights hard. It suggests he's not afraid to take on big opponents.
A force to be reckoned with, maybe.
Seems like it. He stands his ground.
So bringing it all together,
Yeah.
how does all this explain that motto? Like having a lawyer in the family. His co-author shared a story that seems to nail it.
Oh, the towing company incident. Yeah, that's a perfect illustration.
Tell us about it.
Well, she had this issue, and he just jumped right in to help on his own time. He basically said, this is that 1%, this is my time. He just took care of it.
Like family would.
Exactly. Treating her problem as his own. Being there when needed, no questions asked. That's the core of it.
And she also mentioned being invited to his home for the 4th of July, right? Reinforcing that personal, family-like connection.
Yeah. Her final thoughts really sum it up, calling him down-to-earth, trustworthy, and just fiercely protective of his community and clients.
So if we boil it down, what are the main takeaways about Paul Reed and his firm from his own words?
I think it's the authenticity that comes through. His deep Brandon roots, how he became this trial lawyer who isn't scared of court, his obvious commitment. It all feels very real and consistent. You get a strong sense of the person.
And that gives you a pretty clear idea of what you'd get if you hired Reed and Reed, doesn't it? It's more than just legal skill.
Right. It's having someone who gets the local community, someone who is personally invested in getting the right outcome for you.
It really makes you think, what's the actual value of that? Having an advocate who's not just skilled, but deeply connected and protective, what does that add beyond just the legal strategy?
It suggests a level of personal care and fierce dedication that you might not find everywhere else. It feels quite unique.
That's definitely something worth considering. If you want to find out more about Paul Reed and Reed, you can check out their website.
Yeah, worth a look if this resonates with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep.
Oh, well, all right. So you've heard it. It's there. It's pretty impressive. I'm actually surprised, to be honest with you, that they were able to come out with that. It sounds authentic. Sounds like two people are chatting. Kind of bizarre, a little bit mind-blowing. But that's the book, The Other Side of the Law. Right now, you can get it on Kindle. I think it's normally a little bit more expensive, but it's like $1 right now. So if you don't have a Kindle copy, you should at very least jump on that promotion that's on Amazon and get a Kindle copy. Otherwise, get the paperback book or a hardback book. And if you're local to Brandon and you want to stop in and have Paul sign it, I don't think he'd mind. I know he loves people reading the stories and coming back and being like, oh man, telling them their favorite parts and stuff like that. So do that and enjoy the book if you haven't already. Aside from that, Paul's traveling, so he couldn't actually make it onto the podcast today. So razz him in the comments and make sure he knows that you missed him. Yeah, and then they're going to continue being lawyers because that's what they do every day, all day. And the podcast here is just to help promote them. They're already back being a lawyer in the family, so I'm going to let you guys go back to being whatever you're being. Have a great weekend. We hope that everything that you're looking to do this weekend happens. If you're trying to have some fun, great. I know legislative session ended, but they're going to be having special sessions because it's a wild, wild world. Stay tuned for more of that. We might talk about that some later. Other than that, enjoy May. And since the 4th will hit us before we see each other again, may the 4th be with you.
Read and read. It's like having a lawyer in the family.